Welcome inside the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed. Josh Pound, glad to have you alongside us this time. Hope everybody had a happy holiday season as we are approaching the start of the second semester here from the campus of Bennington College. And with that, we'll bring in one of the voices of BRSN, Collin Echols. And Collin, a lot's happened since the last time we sat down for one of these, but we'll just kind of throw a quick recap together to kind of bring people up to speed on things as they sit right now.
On the hardwood, right before break, we got to see some pretty good matchups. Women's basketball against Northwestern, that was a heck of a game. Double overtime loss, and then turn around less than 24 hours later and play the two-time defending national champions Dort. Obviously, that game didn't shake out in the Ravens' favor. But and then the men's basketball too, they played Dort to start that doubleheader day off. That was actually a pretty competitive game up and down the stretch. Just a few mishaps here and there that put them behind, but both teams really sitting in pretty interesting positions right now. The women's team, they are tied for first. They're in a three-way 8-1 split in the Heart of America Conference. MNU, Benedictine, and Grandview all at 8-1. Benedictine staying right in the middle of those three at the top. Of the men's basketball, they're down in ninth, but it's like a game and a half separation or game separation from being in second. Just two kind of wild scenarios at this point in the year, really, when you kind of get in the meat of your conference schedule and you start pushing for the postseason.
The women's basketball 3-0 to start off 2026. Mm-hmm. They've got Baker coming up on Wednesday and then Grandview coming up on Saturday. The men's team 2-1 to start out 2026, and again, Baker and Grandview. So two big games for both teams coming up this week.
Yeah, and I think the Baker game, especially for the women, that's a game that I think when you look just statistically wise and record wise, you're kind of like, okay, that's a game we should pull out and should be a good one to kind of work the kinks out before Grandview. But for the men's side of things, it's more of a coin toss game, pretty even matchup, and a game that I think personally it's kind of a must win in terms of how you project yourself towards the postseason.
Well, and I mean, every game for the most part.
At this point it is.
It's going to be a coin toss on the men's side of things when you're talking about 7 teams within a game and a half of second place. We'll talk a little bit later on with Brycen and LaRue about what that means to the team, but just your general thoughts on, kind of some expectations for both programs as we get back into the thick of conference play this week here on campus.
I think for the women, it's just kind of continue to ride the wave that they're on right now, right? They're riding it pretty high. They're on a 3-game win streak to start 2026. Very winnable game on Wednesday, and then there's going to be some tough competition on Saturday against Grandview. But I think it's really just kind of go to the game plan that you've had, right? It's been a pretty diverse group that's been out there. The numbers have shrunk a little bit on the bench. I think they're running with 12 total bodies right now. So you're seeing a little more rotation, some people getting some extra minutes that maybe they wouldn't otherwise get. I think for them, it's kind of ride the wave and don't let it drop too low. For the men, they've just got to find that groove. They've showed in flashes they can be a really, really scary team. 2-1 record to start 2026, not bad. But there's some cleaning up to do. I think if they can just kind of find that groove and stay in it, they'll be all right.
So that was what things have looked like for basketball. For wrestling, they kind of ran into unfortunate circumstances with the weather, taking away 2 of their tournaments at the end of break, or at the beginning of break and then at the end of the break, but then they were able to come out last week and earn a couple of dual wins. Down at Central Baptist, they won 53-6 over Central Baptist and then 42-15 over Lyon College. And a big week for them coming up, too. They have rival Baker on Thursday and then number 12 Missouri Valley coming up, not this week, but those are the last 2 home duels. You've seen a little bit of wrestling, but it's been a while. We haven't had anything since the opening weekend. What are you looking for from the wrestling program just to kind of see them get back in action here on campus this week?
Well, I think it really starts with that Baker duel, right? I mean, rivalry, it's a little more intense, a little more on the line. It's Baker week, so it's being pushed really, really hard that there's an expectation for a lot of people to be there and show out and have a good crowd. So I think that really kind of sets the tone, though, for your last 2 home duels is if you can come out and have a good performance against a rival that's as heated as Baker is, it sets a really good tone, and then you turn around and you have a ranked opponent to finish it out. It's going to be a tougher challenge, but they've, I think, pretty consistently showed they can hang with just about anybody. So, again, I think you're looking at 2 kind of coin toss matches. rank's going to be a little bit harder, but it all starts with Baker. That rivalry, it brings a lot of extra juice to a matchup that you wouldn't otherwise see.
I think there's something like 7-2, 7-1,
something like that.
Duels so far this season. So that's what's happening around, or what has happened over break. Men's and women's indoor track gets underway again on this weekend, coming up soon. But you can take out all of the upcoming events here from the campus of Bennington College on ravenathletics.com. Collin, thanks for sitting down. That'll set the table for this week's edition of Greatness Unleashed. Coming up after the break, we sit down with Brycen and LaRue from the men's basketball team here from the campus of Bennington College.
Welcome to the Heart of America Athletic Conference, where innovation meets tradition. Here, growth is not just measured in victories, but in the development of character and sportsmanship. Our student athletes compete at a championship level, pushing their limits every day. The Heart is committed to an uncommon student athlete experience that features some of the premier athletic programs in the NAIA. Our commitment to excellence goes beyond athletics, establishing a community of support and mentorship. But what truly sets us apart is the heart with which we play. Join us and experience the passion, the drive, and the spirit of champions. That passion and commitment extends off the playing field and into graduation. The Heart of America Athletic Conference, champions in competition, leaders in life.
Welcome back into the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed. Josh Pound, now happy to be joined by one of our men's basketball players, and Brycen LaRue. And Brycen, it's kind of been an up and down season so far, but you guys are 2-1 to start out 2026. Just talk about how the locker room feels right now and how you guys are feeling about the way the season's gone so far.
Yeah, like you said, I feel like we're in a good spot, mentally and physically. We've been working with a mental health coach. Just giving us tips on how to reset after things go wrong or anything like that, just helping us out. So I think we're in a really good spot moving forward. We have the confidence, we have the guys to get the job done.
So right now, just looking at the conference standings, there is a big time cluster kind of right in the middle. What does that feel like for you guys, knowing that, like, hey, any given night this could go either way, and the standings really kind of could go over a two game week, you could go from 3rd to 10th, from 10th to 2nd. So what's that kind of like? Is that something you guys even worry about, or is it just go out and take care of our business and let the cards fall where they may?
I think it's a good opportunity for us going into January and February being the most important part of the season for us. Just going out there trying to get a couple wins, and I feel like if we get hot at the right time, we can end up at the top of the conference.
So we talked about this season a little bit. Just take us through your story. How did you end up here playing basketball at Benedict?
So I actually went to the elite camp my high school senior year, and then ended up playing well. I don't think they really had me on their radar at all, but they invited me back after that camp, and then I practiced with some of the guys. Ended up offering me a scholarship, and yeah.
So what's been, I think, now that, you've had time to kind of reflect on your time at Benedictine, what's probably been the biggest surprise for you, or the most, unique thing that's kind of happened to you here since you've been at Benedictine?
I would say probably just the competition as a whole. Just in this conference, people are very, very good and a lot better than I expected. Going just from high school, my thought process on just this whole league and whole NAIA as a whole. People are very, very good, and they have a lot of D1 bounce backs and D2 bounce backs, and just a plethora of players that are very skilled and talented.
How much did you follow the NAIA and the Heart of America Conference, or at all in high school, or was it something that you just kind of found out about the camp and thought, why not?
I followed it a little bit. I obviously want to stay close to home, so I had a lot of local schools just on my radar, D1, D2, just any level in NAIA. But being here, I definitely just realized about everything as a whole, pretty much.
So now, you've been here. Anything that you would tell that younger version of you to maybe convince yourself a little bit more to come here, or anything that you might tell that younger you to be sure that this is something that you do while you're here?
Pretty much tell them just keep working because there's a lot. Like I said, it's a very talented conference, and there's a lot of talented guys on this team. But just keep working. And I was fortunate enough to get many opportunities to be on the court and display my skills and just try to win games every night.
So we've still got quite a bit of the season left, but then once the season's over with, you finish up your academics. What are you looking to do, with that after your basketball season's over with, basketball career's over with?
Yeah, I'll plan on getting my degree in business management. I'm kind of leaning towards the real estate route, trying to get my license in March once the season's over, and then trying to connect with a couple of companies back home. So see where that takes me.
So hopefully, you get big time, you can sell some of those Chiefs, some of those Royals. That'd be a pretty decent commission, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, Brycen, thanks for taking the time. Good luck this week. Got a couple of big games on campus for everybody to come to. And coming up after the break, we'll sit down with one of the men's wrestlers, and we'll talk further a little bit more here on Greatness Unleashed.
It all began in 1937. A vision to start something different, something better. A college athletics association where competition wasn't just about the scoreboard, but about character, growth, and rising together. From that first tip-off, the NAIA has grown in size and in spirit, in the way we play, the way we lead, the way we make athletics greater than a game.
This is college athletics the way it was meant to be. This is the right way to play.
Welcome back to this latest edition of Greatness Unleashed. Now joined by men's wrestler Mason Scholz. And Mason, you guys kind of ramped up in the first semester, and then Mother Nature and some other things kind of took out a couple of the tournaments at the end of break, the beginning of break. But you guys are just coming off a couple of dual wins last week on the road. Just take us back through how you think the season's gone so far for the team.
Yeah, so we started off the season, we had an away tournament, and we had some guys place. I think we had 7 placers at that tournament, which was real nice, good start to the season. And then we got to come home and wrestle the service salute and the loose Brock duels. Since then, our competition, it hasn't been as fast as we'd like to. We had those 2 cancellations, as you said, but just recently we went to Arkansas and improved our duel record to, I think, 7-1 on the year, which has just been an amazing start. Got a lot of young guys still competing. We're having a start to the year that we were really hoping for.
Taking a look at some of the guys, a lot of familiar faces that people may be familiar with, a couple of new faces as well. Just take us through how from week to week, every couple of weeks, their competition in that wrestling room must be pretty fierce, because we do have 3-4 guys that maybe come in at 2 or 3 different weight classes every week. Just take us through what that looks like for you as an upperclassman.
Yeah, so I'll speak for myself. There's 6 guys at my weight, so every day you're going in, you can grab a different practice partner. I wrestle with guys that weigh more than me, less than me, and so does everybody else. There's competition at competitions, but we're always getting competition in the room as well. Everybody in the room is really well balanced, good wrestlers. So you're seeing really good competition every day, and that really helps prepare you for the tournaments and the duels against other people. You can get different looks as well, because not everybody wrestles the same. So having this many good practice partners around your way, it really helps prepare you for other competition when you get out there.
So as you mentioned, you guys just had a double duel, and then now you've got a single duel coming up this week against Baker, and then you'll be off for the weekend, and then you've got Valley coming up in a couple of days after that. Just take us through the preparation process of a double duel versus just a single duel versus getting ready for a tournament. Yeah,
so single duels, I don't see them. They're great competition, but I don't see them quite as fun as a tournament, because a tournament you're getting 5 matches, but the preparation is different. So with the duel and tournament, both times you make weight 2 hours before, and you got to rehydrate, refuel, get food in you, and then you have an hour warm up or so, and you wrestle. With a duel, you're wrestling right out of the gate. You got to be ready. You have a match 30 minutes after warm-ups. With the tournament, it's a little different, because you could have a first round bye. I mean, there were some guys at our last tournament we went to at Simpson or at Doan. I mean, they didn't wrestle until 11:30, so they gotta stay loose all day. But at the same time, they're gonna have 5 matches that day, so it's different. You gotta stay loose the entire day. You know, you're getting out there grabbing somebody on the team and warming up, and after every match, you have to rehydrate. Meanwhile, a duel, you have one match, you're going out there, it's just you versus the other guy, so you're getting hydrated and getting food in your body, you wrestle your match, and that's it. But with the tournament, you just got to keep looking forward to the next step, especially if you were to lose your first match. It's real easy to just let it go for the rest of the day, but it's important to just focus on the next match that you have at a tournament, which is a lot different than a duel where it's just one and done.
So just take us back. You've been a senior now on the team. Take us back. What was it about Benedictine wrestling that made you want to come be a part of the program?
So when I came in, it was Coach's first year as well, and I really hit it off with Coach. I like talking to him on the phone, and then also the academics of Benedictine. I took visits to other places as well. I really liked the academics here, and I really liked Coach Barner, and that kind of just drew me to the college. It is close to home as well, which didn't really have a huge play in where I chose to go, but I really liked the coach here and the academics. So,
well, talking about academics, what have you been studying, and what are you hoping to do with it when you're done?
So I'm studying marketing, and I just picked up a minor in sales. I'll be graduating this semester, and I've been applying for mostly sales-focused jobs, but if I could find agency work, that would be great as well.
So where are you looking to want to settle?
I am applying everywhere. I'll go anywhere. I've been applying all over the place. A lot in Kansas City, though, is where I've been focusing.
So again, time probably seems like it's flown by. Just a few minutes ago, so to speak, you were walking around campus in that beanie, and now you're looking at a couple of home duels, and then your home career part is over with. But if you had a chance to go back and recruit that younger self, now that you've had the experience you've had at Benedictine, what would be some things that you might tell him to be ready for, or to make sure he takes advantage of while he's here?
Well, I'd make sure to let him know, it's not easy, and that's what's important about it, is being able to get through the hard times, when your body's hurting and you still gotta put in all the effort you can. And just to soak in all those road trips with the team and every event you get, every dual win, it's just precious moments that you'll never have back. So I'm excited for the last 2 home duels coming up, but it's kind of bittersweet as well.
All right, Mason, thanks for taking the time. Good luck against Baker coming up here on Thursday, and with Valley coming up over the horizon, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Coming up after the break, we'll sit down with Patrick Hodapp, Director of Sports Medicine here on the campus of Benedictine College. You're watching the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed here.
Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas is a Newman Guide school with top 10 rankings in U.S. News and the Wall Street Journal. Choose strong Catholic identity and strong academics, including pre-med, nursing, engineering, and classical architecture. Benedictine granted more scholarships this year than ever before. Choose dominant Raven athletics with nearly 20 conference and national championships in the last 5 years. Choose a college consecrated to the Blessed Mother. Engage with a community of faith and scholarship. Join our mission to transform culture in America. It starts with you.
Welcome back to this latest edition of Greatness Unleashed. Now joined by our special guest for this week's episode, Director of Sports Medicine. I know we've kind of, head athletic trainer, probably the thing that most people would recognize, but Patrick Hodapp. And Patrick, thanks for taking the time. Obviously, as someone who spends a lot of time, on campus, you and your staff spend enormously more amounts of time on staff, so we thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. I guess the first thing I just kind of like to sit back and talk to you about, how did you end up at Benedictine?
I didn't think that was going to be the first question. I guess, to be honest, it kind of happened on accident. I was a grad student at KU. I was finishing up my last semester at KU and was in the process of looking for jobs. I had been employed by Sporting Kansas City, or they were the Kansas City Wizards at the time. was hoping to stay on with them full time, but at the time, assistants were paid nothing back then. Was hoping it'd turn into a bigger gig than it turned out to be, and unfortunately it didn't. But fortunately, I got a phone call from Rebecca Hirschman, now Rebecca Johnson. She called me up and actually called my roommate and I both, because we were both graduating from KU, and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for our first full-time assistant. Do you know, or are you guys interested?" And I was like, "Well, it's kind of funny you say that. I'm interested. I'd like to stay local because my family's around the Kansas City area, Lawrence area." And I said, "Sure, I'd love to." I've been out to Atchison before, especially playing in high school sports and all that. And I said, "Sure, I'd love to come take a look." And the interview was, honestly, I thought it was great. But looking back on it, it was a little bit of a culture shock. When I got to campus, I was in a full suit, dressed to the T's, and Coach Larry Wilcox met with me, and he was, of course, dressed up in a suit also. Takes me right into a conference room, and then there's a panel of coaches, and I was totally overdressed. I mean, I think all the coaches had, what they were wearing to practice or all that stuff, and I kind of was a little nervous. I'm like, did I do something wrong here? But it was a great interview. I had great conversations with Coach Wilcox, Denny Murphy. Just really sold the place. I mean, they had a great pitch with it. This is, it's NAI, it's not Division I, but it really wasn't a step down, to be honest. I mean, KU's an amazing place, but Benedictine's also an amazing place. And I think from day one, from my interview, it just kind of sold it to me. We had a campus tour. They toured the facilities. They took me to the one training room they had full-time on campus. And, of course, at that time, the only other place we had was the Amino Center Athletic Training Room. So that was a little bit of an uphill battle when I first got here. But, I mean, just everyone, the people, the administration, the facilities at the time were still even a lot better than I had anticipated. So it was an easy sell. So it's a strange story, but that's how I got here.
Well, we snapped 20-plus years later.
23.
And now we sit here, and the one training room that you started with is now essentially auxiliary for basketball and wrestling. And then I think probably cheer and dance.
Well, actually,
some treatment
it's basketball and volleyball now, because wrestling has their own facility now. So, yeah, we've grown leaps and bounds.
So I didn't know. So you put a training room down in the wrestling area. So there's one I didn't know about. So then now you've got one at the Casey Center. That was the newest one until they just got done with the indoor facility at baseball and softball, and now you've got one out there. So just talk about how much that's meant to you to kind of see where it started, to know that the school has put a lot of emphasis in making sure that we provide a good service for the student athletes from an athletic training standpoint.
Sure. So, and again, I'm going to give a ton of credit to Coach Wilcox. I mean, he's done an amazing job kind of just progressing everything, knowing that athletics is always first. And we were always moving forward. President Minnis, again, forward, always forward. I mean, from the first year, it was always how can we move forward, okay? Now, there were always times I heard no, don't get me wrong, but there was never a year, even in the leaner years, there was never a year where we weren't moving back. We were moving backwards. It was always forward. So, we, between facilities, staff, equipment, availability, capability, like it's just gone beyond, and it was just Jared. Well, when it was Rebecca and I and Jared and I in the first couple of years that I worked here, I mean, it was two guys covering every single sport, and it was more of a, hey, who wants to go take lunch? Who's staying late tonight? And now we have 7 full-time athletic trainers, and I have an amazing staff, and they make it so seamless, and it flows so well with everything that they do, and to keep these kids on the court, the field, everything. You're back to your question on growth. I mean, like I said, we're now up to we have our treatment facility. It's in Mother Teresa. That's our main facility. We operate a clinic out of there 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And then I think we have 6 satellite now facilities that are all bigger than the original facility when I first got here. So to say dedication athletics, that's an understatement. I mean, again, there's all talk and plans about what are we doing in the future? How do we take it to the next level? I mean, I really, truly think our facilities are better than any other NAI institution, let alone it rivals Division II institutions in many cases. So definitely the dedication, the desire, and the capabilities that Benedictine has provided to our student athletes is top notch.
Well, you talk about now you have 7 full-time, and obviously the challenge that a lot of folks are facing across, just everywhere is the change as far as academics as it goes to become an athletic trainer has kind of forced some situations and where you guys don't necessarily have the student help that you once had because of how the things change as far as within the 4-year graduate kind of department programs. Just talk about what that challenge was like for you guys when you kind of lost those assets because you no longer were training the new trainers that you once had to have an opportunity with.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's we lost our pool of students to kind of pick the cream of the crop of our students. Christopher Danley, who's our head football athletic trainer now, he was the cream of the crop of that generation, and he was also our last generation of graduating students. So we had to keep him. I mean, right. he did it. He's done an amazing job. He did an amazing job as a student, as a GA, and now a full-time staff member. I think the transition to a master's program in many cases hurt a lot of institutions. My personal opinions aside, I think it's harder to find staff. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even we'd have 30 applicants for a job. Now we see 5, 3. I mean, it's tough now. So we do have a lot of cooperative agreements. We're right now in conversations with KU and K-State to possibly get some of their students. We currently use St. Mary's students, and we've been lucky enough to hire many of their students that we've, again, kind of picked the cream of the crop when it comes to that. I do think, though, when we look at it from a student perspective, now that we aren't the ones nurturing and training these students, I think we can show them what a cohesive team is and how do they mesh in an environment like Benedictine College. I mean, we are a large volume, 800 plus student athletes. We have 19 varsity sports. I mean, that is a lot of work and a lot of time that these kids and these students put in on top of the full-time staff. So, yeah, when you look at the evolution of my profession, I think at the end of the day, it provides a better product. A better student leaves. They're way more book smart. The application, the ability in the application is there. When I went through school, it was you tossed in a frying pan, sink or swim. Okay, so and I've been lucky to have multiple mentors that gave me a wonderful experience, whether it was at the pro level, the high school level, Division 1, 2, and the JUCOs. So I've been lucky enough to kind of see every single level and the good and the bad of each aspect. And hopefully, and many of my staff have also had those similar experiences, and hopefully we can nurture those kids and those students to see and to look at Benedictine and say, yeah, this is the right place to be.
So obviously with the staff that you've got now, you have the ability to provide single sport coverage a little bit more than what you were able to. It can get a little, since we're on that 12-month window now almost, and I think that's been the biggest, just on the outside looking in, where it's trickled down now even to our level where it is a full year calendar. There's really no off season. There's game season and non-game season, so to speak. Just take us through what's the average day look like? You mentioned that the Mother Teresa has the full training room and the treatment room and things like that, but just take us through what does the average day look like for you and your staff up there at Mother Teresa?
It's probably more easy to say average week, just because we don't have a 9-to-5 job. So my staff usually, for me, I drop my daughter off at school, come right into work. I do teach classes also, as many of my other staff members also do too. So if I teach class, I'll teach the class that I'm assigned, or I'll head right into the training room and we'll open the training room. The training room opens at 8 a.m. every morning. It's an open treatment style, open clinic style. So we do have software that we use in order to schedule our kids, but we do the best we can to allow our students to schedule around there. We never want them to miss class, weights, practices, all those types of things. So we run our clinic from 8 to noon every morning, Monday through Friday. We do take a break when we can. Sometimes that does spill in, sometimes it doesn't. And then from that point, we divide up into our satellite facilities. So in the fall, myself, Chris, and Josie, we go over to football, usually somewhere between 1 and 1:30. If it's a longer lunch, we're lucky to get a workout in or something like that. If it's not, then unfortunately it gets postponed. But then we're football until our day ends. Some nights it's 6:30, some nights it's 7. And then the unknowns that a lot of people don't know is that if we have a student that has to go to the hospital, or if they need to be transported to surgery, an appointment, we're the ones that usually do that. So that can also extend our day, sometimes into the wee hours in the morning. Luckily, not that often. But and then you add the whole weekend. In football season in the fall, it's 7 days a week. Let's go. We do the best we can to balance trying to get a day off. When you can. We do have a JV program, so that does feed into our Sundays and Mondays. But again, if we didn't love it, we wouldn't be here. Right. So that's I think when people from the outside look in, they say, well, why do you work 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour work weeks? I'll be honest, we don't clock in. I mean, we don't clock our hours. It's cheesy. It's cliche. But it's we do love the game, we love the sport, we love the kids. I mean, we work with amazing coaches here. Not gonna lie, we butt heads sometimes, but I think that's the nature of having winning programs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm confident that every single coach we have here on campus, sure, I've butted heads with them before, but at the end of the day, it's all about winning championships, graduating kids, and making sure that these kids get the best experience that they can at Benedictine College. And I think we do a really good job about that. So, when we talk about work, my spring's a little easier. I transition more to track and field, and I assist with football. All of my other athletic trainers, they also transition to another sport. So in some cases, some of my staff, their busy season is fall. In couple other staff members, the spring is the busy season. So we do have highs and lows when it comes to just coverage and having a few more extra days in one season versus the other. But you're right. When you talk about summer, when I got hired, Larry said, you know what, we're going to work and we're going to work our tails off, but summers are yours. And now summers aren't really ours anymore. But again, at the end of the day, I think we have a stronger, faster, better student when we come at the end of the day. I think Joel's summer workout programs, you see the benefits that we see it in our season. We see it from an injury standpoint. And again, we are transitioning to that higher division type of mentality where there is no off season anymore. It's game season, or are you participating in sports, or are you training to participate in sports? So yeah, it's a workload, but we love it. So.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us. Obviously, the busy time of the year, for you and your staff, but we wanted to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and let people take a look at what it looks like to serve the student athletes that you guys do. And obviously that they see me sometimes sitting over there. They don't necessarily see Catherine at a basketball game, or Jared at a wrestling tournament, or you and Chris and Josie at basketball, or even, definitely baseball, softball. You never see them. Hopefully you never see the trainers there, because that means nobody got hurt. But we wanted to just kind of get you on and sit down and talk about things. We appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully it's a relatively easy semester for you guys as far as from an injury standpoint. But we know that if something happens and a student athlete needs that support, you guys are there for them.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Josh.
That's been Patrick Hodapp on the latest edition of Greatness Unleashed here from the campus of Benedictine College.